Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the guy that won't leave Scott McNeil alone. You have been warned. This is Random Review.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel. It is day 4 of our look at the Prime Changers for Transformers 1, and we've come to the interesting one. So, this is, from the trailers, one of the villains of the movie. So this is the Quintesson High Commander. I keep wanting to say Chancellor, because it's like, you know, it's more official. It's what I'm used to out of a Quintesson. But we're getting a very different take on them this time, you know, because usually they don't transform. Now, I don't believe they do transform in the movie. I feel like this is mostly just there to represent the character, because this ain't the ship in the movie that we've seen. But let's discuss it. Let's actually go over what this toy is. So as you can see, it is cast in a mostly like dark olive green, like very dull color. And interestingly enough, you're getting hits of like a transparent pink in the nose cone that fades into that color. You'll see why here in a minute. For now, you can take a look at some of the other details, which is the maroon that's poking through on the side, the weird rocky surfaces coming out the side. Like, it's striking me almost more like Junkie on Junk Ship than it is Quintesson. So let's take a look. So the outer layers of it do have something of a more rounded, more organic look than I'm used to out of a spaceship transformer. So it's hitting at least a unique design aesthetic. You know, even if like the color is kind of dull and, you know, it's kind of underwhelming paint-wise, it's definitely looking very alien. So it's getting that across really, really well. It has semblance of wings and the semblance of tail fins. So it has at least the look of a space jet that you would expect that a kid is going to actually look for. And more of that translucent pink is on the rear, which I assume is some kind of engine, warp drive, whatever your imagination makes of it. And yeah, that's the color in the front as well. Because soft, rubbery plastic. I don't like this stuff. I don't like this stuff because it's got like a slight bend to it. Like, oh my god, focus camera, focus. Oh well, it's not going to cooperate with me. Suffice to say, yeah, the thing can come in bent, which nobody wants, nobody can use. Oh my god, like, it really doesn't want to stay in focus because this is a very thin toy. Alright, point being, yeah, it's got a unique look to it. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a look you like. It's trying to replicate the stylings of the Quintesson ships that we've seen in the trailer, so I can't really fault that. Feature-wise, really isn't anything going on here. There's no 5mm ports I can plug anything into to weaponize him or anything. You do have a 3mm port under there, so you can put him on a flight stand, and yes, you can see underneath he can carry cargo of one singular traditional pink Energon cube. Let's set that aside for now, and we'll come back to the Energon cube. For now, really don't have anything else to talk about. You know, it's kind of clean on the underside. A few little Quintesson tentacles sticking out the back. But beyond that, you've seen pretty much everything going on here. You know, it's a little bit dull on the features. So let's get them transformed, right? And this is the one I was most curious about, because I really wanted to know how you get a Quintesson to transform into anything. So I'm going to unpeg the arms from this rear section. They are going to be a little bit stiff here, but I need to move them out of the way just so we can get the space. Just so you can see what's going on a little bit better. This one is interesting in how it's how this actually comes through. So I'm going to start hinging things open, and it's going to kind of go inside out just a little bit because we need to get those tendrils out of there. So we're going to open up the entire ship like so. We're going to fold this up to give it a little bit more clearance. Then these big masses of tentacles are going to come out like that. Up top here, I'm going to go ahead and fold this down, you know, because we're going to need that here soon. We're going to rotate this entire section like so. The head is there buried inside, so we're going to go ahead and move that out. Flip it 180 degrees on that hinge and then slap it back in. That's going to give us the way he's going to, that's going to give us the torso for the robot mode. Needs to be rotated around as well. Now, flip the whole thing over. Nose cone goes down like so. Go ahead and fold the tendrils all the way down, as far as they will go. Clip all that together. Now you can see where that soft plastic's kind of getting in the way. See how crooked everything's getting? Yeah, like that's not great. That's not great. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. Okay, and then tendrils out of the way, so we need to get this hinged down like that. That's going to act as our stand. And now we've got enough room to get these arms rotated around, like so. And that is the transformation into the Quintesson mode. So at the very least, it's got an interesting transformation going on. I will give it that. It's not the most exciting of transformations, but there's a couple of weird things. Having an entire engineering section devoted to flip out tendrils, that's interesting and fun. But everything else just kind of leaves you just kind of like fairly typical stuff. Like once you get the tendrils flipped out, you're pretty much good to go on just like standard transformation steps. And the overall presence is, yeah, like that's a Quintesson from the movie. Probably much smaller and much less intimidating than he tended to be in the trailers, but nevertheless, it is the representation of a Quintesson. So we will give it that. At least a movie version of a Quintesson. Let's be clear here. Obviously, he's 4 faces short of being an authentic one. I will go ahead and give you a look at the one face he does have, however. He is an ugly sucker, as you would expect of a threatening evil alien. Yeah, it looks good. I will give it that. Like, it looks appropriately creepy, and it does look accurate. It does look how I expect him to look based on the trailers. So that's fine. That's fine. And the maroon works well here. I do like the maroon color. I'm still not sold on this really pale, dark green, but the maroon looks okay. Being, bright yellow eyes as well. You can see the tendrils that are airbrushed there at the very tips in that same green. You see a little bit more of that maroon going through the arms. He has one arm traced with a little bit of yellow for some reason. I don't know why it's done on only one arm. I assume the movie should tell me, or I hope the movie will tell me why only one arm is special. Beyond that, yeah, like the other Prime Changers, he seems to be pretty clean and efficient in transformation. Doesn't really leave a whole lot behind. He is what he is. He makes no bones about that. The problems here lie in a few things. Well, number one, because he's relying so much on that soft plastic, like the tip right here on his stand, the tendrils, the nose cone, we know that the soft plastics Hasbro has been using for its blast effects, which this absolutely feels like, has not had the best of luck when it comes into contact with hard, like, ABS plastic. It tends to melt the stuff upon prolonged contact. Be careful with your beachcombers and their rubber wheels, by the way. So I'm a little bit concerned about the longevity of the figure, for starters, but also you've basically seen everything that this toy is going to be able to provide you. If I tell you, like, here's how the articulation works, I'll tell you the head can tilt, but it can't really move side to side. I mean, very barely side to side. I can show you that the shoulders are ball jointed, but because of this big body in the way, they are hindered quite a bit. I can't raise his arm directly forward because of the way the torso is molded. His elbow is at least ball jointed, so you have full range in the elbow. And that's it. That is it. That's literally everything the toy has to offer you. 5 points of articulation, 3 of which are incredibly limited. And that's it. I mean, yes, the hinges for the tendrils technically count as points 6 and 7, but the tail piece gets in the way. So you have to kind of break him a little bit in order to get those out, and then, you can only hinge him outward. So if I'm being generous, if I'm being very generous, 7 points of articulation, 5 of which are very hindered, and none of which are really that great. And then we have his one lone accessory. He has no guns, he has no wings, he has nothing. He just has an Energon cube. And guess what? That's all he can do with it. You have to balance it on his forearms. He has no way of holding it. There is no way to plug it in this mode. There's nowhere for it to sit. You could technically keep it in its storage position inside the nose cone, but that's literally all there is. Yeah. After experiencing, like, Sentinel Prime, and how many accessories he had, and then experiencing, and like, Alpha Trion before with how much his articulation worked for him, this thing gets incredibly disappointing. I was really looking forward to how creative this toy might be, and then just to get it in hand and go, wow. As far as transforming Quintessons go, I think I prefer the last one that just kind of turned into a weird, like, tower instead. That at least had some more creativity to it. This is a really disappointing figure. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be nice about it. This guy is bad. This guy is really, really bad. For a $20 figure, he feels like one of the bad Warrior class toys. He feels extremely limited. He feels undercooked, under-accessorized, undersized. When you start to realize that most of what you see here is just the back shell of, the robot mode, like the shell of the vehicle with the tendrils hanging out. You've technically got half of an action figure with low articulation balancing on a piece of kibble. And that's incredibly underwhelming for a Transformer figure. So I can't recommend this one. I absolutely cannot. Hopefully they do something a little bit more interesting if they do him in Studio Series. But for this one, he is absolutely skippable. Very interesting aesthetic, but everything else, not worth the price.